Well, g'day guys and welcome. I'm Mitch Stock and this is Life in the Peloton, but this is our breakaway series, the new series that's popped up, the Communique, the Race Communique. The series that we started a month ago with Luke Durbridge and with Tom Southam. We're going to be talking to Luke Durbridge this week. Tom Southam is busy over at the Vuelta Burgos, so Durbo and I are going to be unpacking what happened at those Super Worlds, amazing World Championships, the men's race and the women's race, plus all those other events. The mountain biking, the track, we didn't get into the BMX and all those other great events. We try to cover as much as we could, but then we're talking about what's coming up, the Vuelta of España, and of course I throw a little quiz in at the end too to trip Durbo up. I love chatting to Durbo, one of my old teammates. He's riding on Jayco Alula this year. So guys, sit back and enjoy. This is the podcast presented by Rapha, but of course this is the Race Communique. So I hope you enjoy, guys. Well, Durbo, here we are, mate. We are here again for the Race Communique. It's just you and I this time. Welcome back to the Race Communique, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Tom wasn't quite good enough, so we've cut him, giving the people what they want.
Well, that's the thing with this, and I don't know if everyone understood the original idea, maybe I didn't explain it properly, is that you guys are busy men, you're on the road, one guy's going to be at a race, and at the moment, Tom Southam's right at the Vuelta Burgos at the moment, and this is what I anticipated, so that's why I chose two of you. When we can get the clan back together, the three of us, the three amigos, it's great, but the rest of the time, it's just going to be the duo, whether it's you and I or me and Tom, so let's try this week, you and I. We'll see if you and I can connect at all.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be challenging. Tom's always there to fill in the gaps and stuff, and so we'll see how we go. But I mean, I think we'll be okay.
Well, Durbo, first of all, mate, what the hell's been going on? You're just back from the Worlds. You're back home, I guess. You're sort of kicking back because you didn't really get your traditional time off after the Tour de France this year.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, I wish I was kicking back, but I leave tomorrow for Hamburg, and then I go straight from Hamburg to an Eco Tour, or its new name is called Renewy. So yeah, just the show goes on.
What? It's got a new name again. The Bing Bang.
There's Bing Bang. There's was it Benelux? There was Eneco. So yeah, this year it's called Renewy Tour. So the funny thing is that it's a world tour race. So it's, it holds the same points as winning Paris-Nice. No one even knows what the name of it is,
You're sort of presenting it like it may be a sort of an easy way to get points. It's by no means that. It is a bit of a bitch of a race. It's a bastard of a race. It's a real hard race.
No, let's keep the same name, so it gets some sort of, continuity,
Yeah.
I'm off there, and then pretty much just I crack on now until pretty much the end of the year, because I find with the Worlds being where it is, the time for the break is just not possible. So I just sort of slowly do a few rides and just ride the wave, and hopefully the wave doesn't crash before the end of the season.
What sort of rides have you been doing? Just recovery rides or long endurance rides?
Well, at the Worlds, actually, it was based a lot on recovery. So actually, by the time I got back here, I was sort of like, shit, I've actually got to train a little bit. So, yeah, this week I've actually had to put in some solid sessions, sort of 4 or 5 hour rides with some efforts and things like that, which, to be honest, has not been that fun. But it's summer here and it's August holidays, so we've been down the coast on the Costa Brava. So, yeah, I haven't been, it hasn't been too hard. I've been training and coming back and having a nice swim and, eating a nice paella on the beach. So, it's not terrible. Can't complain.
You're painting the pro life up there beautifully. And that's the thing, I think, is that after this, you may be still training, but the mind's so different now, isn't it? It's very relaxed. You're still getting the work done, but you're not stressed.
Exactly. This is this time of year that you always said you love the most, is that once you finish your Grand Tour, it's this 2-3 hour rides. You can sort of, enjoy yourself, but you still got to race and you still got great conditions. So, yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of a blowout last week in terms of mentally, just I can't do this anymore because I'm tired, because I've been going since Dauphiné. But now I'm okay. I've had a little hissy fit, and now I'm moving forward, so we're good.
A few beers to round the edges off and you're back on track. I like it. I like it.
Exactly.
Right, let's talk about it. Let's catch up on what's been going on. And we're talking about the racing now. And I think there's really only one big race to cover. Well, let's just talk about the Super Worlds, the World Championships. You were over there. You rode for Australia, obviously. The big one, the Worlds. It was much different this time, I think, being the Super Worlds. Tell me about the atmosphere over there. Was it, first of all, that's the first question I've got before we get to the actual racing now. What was the atmosphere like? Was it like a games? Because watching it on TV, it actually felt like a bit of a games because they were crossing across to, the BMX, and now we've got the road race on still. And I was like, this is the best idea ever. 2 weeks of like all discipline cycling. So this should be like that every year. I'm a big fan.
I mean, I think there's two different ways to see it. Like when you're there, it's sort of like an Olympic Games or a Com Games, other than the village. We didn't have a village, which was I thought was a bit disappointing. A village would have been great because I spoke to Cycling Australia when we were there. One of the head managers, Paul Brosnan, and said, "Oh, what's it like?" He said, "Oh, it's a bit of a logistical nightmare because we had the paracycling in Dumfries, we had the road championships in Glasgow, then the time trials in Stirling, the track was in Glasgow." Like everyone was everywhere. And I thought we would just be all hanging out together, mountain bike, track, road, para. I thought we'd all be in this village and be like big Australian atmosphere. But we're all scattered all over Scotland. And, Scotland's a big place. So you actually don't get to you didn't get to see too many people. But then the other side of it was like when you turned on GCN or wherever you watched it, like you had, it was like an Olympic Games. You had like just a smorgasbord of cycling content just going every day, which is fantastic. And I even enjoyed it when I'd finished my race or whatever, come in and just be like, oh, yeah, wouldn't mind watching a little bit of freestyle mountain BMX or mountain biking or this or that. But it wasn't like I could go, to the freestyle BMX and watch it. I was just in like a normal hotel room at a normal World Championships, just doing my, you know what I mean? Like as an athlete, I don't think it changed too much. But as an overall, like if you're a spectator, within an hour, you could drive and watch all cycling codes, all the World Championships, which must have been pretty cool.
Apart from the Worlds having so much racing on, there was so much sport going on. We had the Women's World Cup out here in Australia and the Matildas, as I'm sure you know. It was so good. There's been just so much sport on at the moment. The Ashes just finished, as you know. That we're right in the middle of the rugby league. The AFL's on. It's just been almost too much sport to handle. But let's actually talk about the race. The Worlds, the men's Worlds, it was such an epic road race. We'll get to the women's as well in a minute, but let's start with the men. The 271K, I love how long it's getting now. The 100K loop around Edinburgh, and then they head to Glasgow, or you head to Glasgow for 10 laps for 14K, twisty technical circuit. I heard something like 48 corners per lap. Then you've got the Montrose climb, 200 metres at 7%. That was almost synonymous because it's just like the corners did the job. Durbs, we've got to get to the race because I saw you. Let's start right when I saw you on TV. I turned the race on when everyone was having a bit of a coffee stop on the side of the road at the protest.
That was a crazy. We were on the side of the road for 55 minutes. That's insane. Protesters jumped out apparently behind a hedge, one of those stereotypical stone hedges, and quick concrete his hand to the ground, and
what?
Yeah, and in the UK you can't like manhandle protesters or something, so they had to do it a certain way, and you can imagine if you're in France, John Don Marie would just rip that
cut his arm off, wouldn't he?
just leave the hand on the road, and just ride past.
So how did they actually get him out?
I don't actually know. I mean, like I saw a picture. The only reason I saw it was concrete. I'm like, oh, if it's super glue, just use another adhesive and take it off. But there was an actual picture. And it was just like literally like a cast. He'd casted his hand onto the road. And like we could get through, but then all the vehicles can't get through. So then and this road was, it must have been 1.5 car wide. So it wasn't very wide anyway. But at that point they stopped us, we were setting up to pretty much take us to that climb out of town. So as Australia, we'd set up early, maybe 15K before myself and Luke Platt. And we'd invested quite a lot of time and quite a lot of effort into that position because it got narrower and narrower and narrower. So we were like really pissed because as soon as we stopped, we were standing on the side of the road, and then like next minute, like the guy from the Vatican City is standing there, and you're like, mate, yeah, I know you weren't in position. I saw you at the back, and now he's just picked his bike up, walked through the hedge on the side of the road, and then just parked up at the front. So as soon as they dropped the flag again, voila, there he is. And I'm like,
yeah, but did he get dropped? Because when they dropped the flag again, you guys just like took off like a million miles an hour. It looked hell. It split behind, and guys never came back after that.
Yeah, because the reason was that the break was at 6 minutes 50. And we weren't chasing the break, obviously, because we had one in there. But the run into the climb was so close that we thought, okay, there was a few teams that were like investing super hard into the run into the climb, into the course. And if you hit the first lap on the front, we thought it was just going to explode to 30, and that was literally going to be it. So
well, it did do that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, sorry.
What happened?
That's exactly what happened. So I mean, I wasn't there. I did the run in, so I didn't see the explosion. I don't know what happened.
Well, you got on TV actually. They showed you and Plappy just pulling in for a cold one.
Yeah, we were done. But like I said, it was a big investment. You know, like it's not often you start the World Championships going, all right, my job will be done at the 150K mark, and we're just going to have to really invest in this. And I'm talking like Plapp and I, and Luke Platt was exceptional. But, we sat in the wind and positioned Michael Matthews and Caden Groves and Simon Clark all the way into the circuit, because it was just so technical, the circuit. It was insane.
Did you do a lap? Did you do a lap to feel what it was like at race pace?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we did 2 laps. We just like rode around and then just because I wanted to see the atmosphere. And it was awesome. Like Montrose Street was, 6 deep, 7 deep. And it was really, really cool. And then also just got to pull in and pretty much watch the best cyclists just absolutely destroying each other with 120K to go.
Well, tell me about the race then, because when you guys hit the circuit, like you said, well, when you guys started, from what I could see, when the bunch just took off, it never slowed down from that point there. I think it was 190 to go. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, roughly. If you can imagine stopping for 50 minutes, you have to. All the cars came and refueled everyone, so everyone got to stop for a piss. Everyone got to eat. Everyone got to do everything. So as soon as we started, we were like, okay, that's it, we go.
But did you have cafe legs?
Oh yeah. It felt horrible. But Plappy's like a track rider, so he was fine. But I was just like.
It was just so good to watch. I watched the whole Worlds from that point, 190K, every K. It took me the next 3-4 days to watch it, and not finding out the result was really hard, because I just knew when they hit the circuit and Michael Morkov and Denmark just like lit it up like it was 10K to go. I was like, what is going on here? Like, I want to know. I now know what the circuit is, but this is just continual story we keep talking about. Oh, the Peloton, they're moving on, they're going fast. We spoke about it last time at the Tour de France. But this was, again, another level on ridiculous. Like, you guys are already going ridiculous, and now this was ridiculous on ridiculous. What's the opinion now of everyone coming out of the race? Before we talk what happened in the race, what's the feeling coming out? And when the guys got back into the bus, like, was everyone just sort of shaking their head going, this is just so ridiculous now?
Yeah, I think so. Like, if everyone came in the bus just going, like, those first 3 laps was just like insane. Like guys were coming in and were just like, oh my God, like how the hell can we, survive this? And Simon Clark's a good rider too, because he's done probably more World Championships than most. And he was sort of saying beforehand, he's like, just never get out of your saddle, just like stay in your saddle, just save your legs, spin. And then you see like 120K to go. I'm looking on the TV and Clarky's just completely out of the saddle, just ripping it. And I said, you got out of the saddle? He goes, oh, mate, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, it's 120K to go and I'm doing absolutely max to follow these moves. And I don't know, man. I think the thing is the big 4 or 5 riders, They just prefer it that way because in the end of the day...
because are they just that strong too?
Yeah, but also then
also prefer
less
it that
variables.
way.
Less variables. There's not 50 guys out to deal with. There's only 4. So make it happen. So if you have one of those riders, just destroy the bunch. But what happens is there's going to be a completely different training spec. One guy's going to do 150k. That's it. You know what I mean?
Was there any word like this is too far, this course? This, I know it's all good and well now and, there was no massive crashes, but it split up and it was very exciting. But is there any complaints from the riders going or teams going, this is just too far. We don't want to see worlds like this, again, use too many corners or I don't know, because there could be an element of that or everyone was just all on board.
No. I personally, and the talk was, it was actually silly. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like a cyclocross race on the road, and it really suited a really small bunch of people. And look, it takes a world champion over skill, endurance, everything to become a world champion. So it got its appropriate world champion. But I would say that even those guys would say it was unnecessary, it wasn't a true world championships, I feel, but, It was a true world championship. I'm not going to take that, but the course itself was it was a massive criterium, and especially when it comes to the time trials and stuff like that, I think they could have done quite a bit better with the technicality of the circuit, and also the circuit itself was in bad shape. There was potholes and there was cobbles and there was off camber downhill, bricks and it rains in Glasgow all the time, and the park was full of gravel, and there was a lot of things that I'm going, this shouldn't be allowed as a world circuit.
Are you suggesting that maybe Van der Poel deserves a crit champ world jersey, or is that what you're sort of trying to say?
No, Van der Poel deserves everything he got. That was insane. That was insane. What do you think is a spectacle having such a small bunch, 120k to go? Was it boring then?
No, I thought it was going to be boring. I said there's a risk here. This is so exciting when you hit the circuits. I can't remember how many K that was to go, but when Denmark lit it up, I was like, where are you going to go from here? But amazing stuff just kept happening. Just when Bettiol went. And, even when he was just solo, he made it exciting by railing these corners and Bidden going underneath his wheel and almost crashing and just... There's just and even behind just the favourites, a small bunch, these guys just hitting over themselves. There's 3K to go. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? This is just nuts. Like I said, I did not want to miss any of it. So I was waiting every day for prime time to sit down after doing things all day and just watching it with a cold beer. I really, really did enjoy the men's worlds. Let's have a quick talk about the women's worlds. And, Lotte Kopecky, she stole the show there, not only in the road race, but she was a 3 times world champion in the week. And I think that's the cool thing about the Super Worlds is that you can sort of cross over and do a couple of things. We saw Van der Poel try and complete the triple, the cyclocross obviously wasn't now, but he tried to do the road and the mountain bike. Didn't come off that well, but there was still an ability to do it. Des, what did you think of the women's race, in comparative to the men's and, how things sort of panned out?
I think it was very similar in terms of it became a death march quite early and the breakaway always gets rewarded in this. And you saw that even in the men's race, the breakaway arrived with so much time, which avoided the massive explosion from the Peloton. So you would see a few people in the final that came for the breakaway. Which was great. And then, I think Demi Vollering, she was also really, really good. There was this one moment where Demi did this massive attack and she attacked herself into cramp. So she's out of the seat and she's wrapping everyone up the climb and dropping everyone, and then she just fully seizes at the top of the climb. She's punching a quad and then just slots back into second wheel as she's punching a quad. And you just goes to show how brutal this road race was. Marlon Russo was also a really good showing, considering she had a bit of a tough time in the TT. She pulled out of the TT, which she was the favourite. So then to back up, and she was 4th in the road race, which was, mentally that's difficult when you're the favourite going into the TT and you don't you don't finish, and then you back up and nearly get on the podium of the road race. So that was a good ride. So yeah, no, it was a bloody exciting road race, but a lot of Kopeckis just on another level on that circuit at the moment.
Well, like you said, it's suiting sort of the Belgian style, cyclocross sort of riders. Maybe that sort of lended to her skill level, but also it's clear from her other, gold medals on the track. She's a points race world champion, elimination world champion, both very cagey racing styles. You spoke about the TT. Let's quickly cover that. That's not my expertise, but I know you love TTs. Evenepoel, after much sort of criticism in the road race, I think he sort of copped. He's only the second rider ever to win road race and TT behind Abraham Alano.
Really?
From Spain. I didn't know that. Yeah,
wow.
That's pretty cool to know that. Ghana in second. And then Josh Tarling, he had the hot seat for quite a long time, Durbs. What can you tell me about him?
I mean, it's insane. He's a 19-year-old. I think he's the youngest ever medalist at a World Championships in the time trial.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, Remco was the previous youngest, but he's even younger than what Remco was in Yorkshire. And Remco's Remco, so it just goes to show the talent on this kid. He won the World Championships in Wollongong last year, and under 19 signed pro. I think his first World Tour race was Paris-Nice, and he held his own there. And then I mean, he won the national championships not that long ago in the time trial, destroyed that for Great Britain, and then. Yeah, going into this, people already had him as a potential favourite. That's how good he was. So he's a big boy. I would be actually scared to know his watts, which I don't know. But apparently his SRM didn't work or something on the start line, so he just winged it. So I also got a lot of respect for that as well.
Old school.
Yeah. So he just loves it. So good on him. Good on him.
Could you imagine going old school now?
Not really, and it's so long. It's it was 58 minutes. It was nearly an hour. So to pace that like that was super impressive. But yeah,
wouldn't you just know from the feeling now yourself? Ultimately, I know you'd be slightly out. Maybe go slightly too hard, maybe slightly too easy, but. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're still going to finish completely dead. Do you think you could still pace it? If the same scenario happened to you, I know you're an avid time trial and you're out there doing it, you're feeling these sessions day in, day out. Surely you could pace it pretty close.
Oh, yeah, I could do it. I think I'd definitely overpace it and blow. That would be my concern. That's, you definitely could do it. Now, knowing what you know now, for sure.
But let's talk about the women. Chloe Dyghen, she took it out. And Grace Brown, she was actually out here doing the Winter Solstice Ride, Life in the Peloton Winter Solstice Ride, in preparation for this time trial. Flew back out to Australia. It took her around the back roads around Landsfield, that is. And she got some great form and slotted into second place.
Maybe she had too many beers. Maybe she had too many beers on the ride, and that was the 6 seconds in the end, so who knows?
Well, she had a few Life in the Peloton beers, so maybe that elevated her into second from third.
True.
Two ways to look at it, Derbs.
No, that was also good to see Chloe win after that massive crash in where was it, in Imola, and she hasn't been back since then, really. So it's good that she took out the victory, but obviously it was all a bit for Aussie fans. It was a bit of a shame. Grace, second year in a row, she's ran second. So hopefully the Rainbows is around the corner for her because, she's a great rider, great person. So we all hope she gets the world title one day. Let's
talk about the mountain bike worlds, because it's something that I'm more interested in these days. But let's talk about the roadies in the mountain bike worlds. You had Nino Schurter there. He's 10 times world champion, and the rest of the mountain bike World Cup riders were at the front on the start. And this is a big thing in mountain biking, the start grid. UCI changed the rules. They brought the roadies forward who hadn't got UCI points from riding the World Cups. Tom Pidcock was starting on the third row. He ended up having Peter Sagan and also Vanderpool with him on the third row. But Pidcock's actually ridden a few World Cups and got some points himself. Those guys got brought up to his level. And Pidcock hasn't doesn't struggle moving through the bunch. It's not really a problem for him. So I think he was pretty pissed that the other guys got a bit of an advantage on him.
How does that work? Do you know how that rule came about, Mitch? Like, was it just to help roadies be better on the grid, or like what is the rule?
Well, look, I don't really understand it, but from what I understand is if you hold because it's a UCI event, World Cup or World Championships, if you hold a high UCI ranking in another discipline, then it elevates you. I don't know exactly how high it elevates you, but I think they've done it in the cyclocross as well, that if you just come across, because those champion guys we're talking about, they don't ride all the World Cup cyclocross races anymore, but they still get good grid position now because they're high in the UCI category. I think they introduced that rule, but from what I understand, Pidcock was pretty pissed about it, and he knows he can move through the bunch. That's one of his best sort of talents. You see this, I'm watching this, and the guys on the front, like the proper World Cup mountain bikers, they're making it hard because they know Pidcock's going to have to chase back. But if he's stepping out. Like, these guys are going hard on these climbs. They're suffering. These are the world's best. They're suffering. They're pig rooting it up this climb. Pidcock steps out, just goes past like 5 or 6 guys on this climb and just slots back in like it's no tomorrow. He's just insane, this guy. His skill on the downhill is amazing. And then, look, another guy I need to mention is a guy that you know really well from Girona is Sam Gaze. He's absolutely flying. He's a short track winner. He was flying home at the end. It was such a great race to watch. For me, what's happened in mountain biking now, it's becoming, the UCI getting back behind it, these road guys going cross and doing it again. It's just made things so much more exciting, for me anyway, to be able to watch guys that I know on the road come back in and just, it's revitalised the sport for me anyway. Durbs, are you getting into it at all?
Oh, 100%. I think the GCN effect is a big thing as well. You just literally just bang, it's on, it's all televised. Like you said, the road pros go back and do it. But not just that, then you start to learn the names of, I'm not a mountain biker, never been a mountain biker, so never really followed it. But, obviously everyone knows Nino, but other than that, you can now I'm watching, you're sort of more invested in the other riders. And it's unreal. I didn't get to watch too much of the mountain bike. I just watched some highlights. But from what I heard, Sam Gaze had an amazing ride, like you said. Pidcock, unreal. And yeah, it's just cool.
It seems to me like Gaze, going across the road, I know he was already good, but the road is giving him a lot of sort of that extra strength. What he was doing in the final laps, you saw him just looking like he was just sort of getting warmed up. That diesel, it seems like if these guys have got the skill and they can convert it onto the road and then come back to mountain biking, it's almost giving them this extra gear. Be interesting to see if any mountain bikers do what Nino Schurter did in the early days. He came across and rode with us at Orica Scott or Orica Green Edge, as it was called then. Or maybe it was Orica Scott, I can't remember. But it's interesting. There's a few guys sort of crossing over and using a bit, but not as much as, say, Gaze.
Like you said, it will be interesting to know that, how many mountain bikers are going to come across. In terms of mountain bikers that we know of, a lot of mountain bikers over the past have come across the pro road. But it'd be interesting to see now if the World Tour teams are going to look more at mountain bikers again. And there was a trend they were looking at track riders for a while there as well. So. I think the good thing about cycling at the moment, the way it's going, is it's just cycling is cycling, and if you're good at it, you can sort of transfer it to all the disciplines, and the teams and the sponsors are super keen for you to do that. It was back in the day, we wouldn't be encouraged to do a mountain bike, but now it's run, cyclocross, mountain bike, track cycling, whatever you want to do to stay fit, you just do it and just roll with it,
Well, seeing as you talked about it, let's talk about the track quickly. I know we're not going to do it justice because there's just too much to talk about today, but the one event that I sought out was the Madison. It was a personal favourite event of mine, and I wanted to go and watch that. I couldn't believe watching it that Morkov, I knew Morkov would be there, Michael Morkov or Mikkel Murku. He's 2 times world champion, or maybe 3, I can't remember now, but he was there 2 days after a 271-kilometre road race. I don't know how far he got in that road race, but not even this was on Tuesday night. So just 2 days after the road race, he's there in a 50K high speed. I think they averaged 59 kilometres an hour, Madison. Durbs, you were actually there.
Yeah, it was insane.
You were actually there, weren't you?
Yeah. I was there, and the class on the bloke on Morkov is unbelievable. You know, like he just rides around the track, and he just like, I am so confused in the stands with what's going on. Like it was that fast, I could not keep up. You know, and these guys, the processing speeds of these guys is insane. It's like a game of like COD or something on a bike at 60 k's an hour. It's like, you know, and yeah, but it was.
Could you feel the wind?
Cool. The wind, the wind, for sure.
From like them going past.
Yeah, but not one crash. Not one crash.
There was a couple of split changes which were like so close, but it's just like, and like, how's the ending of it? Like New Zealand, like Belgium led from the start, and you know, it looked like they had it wrapped up. They were just in control. It was just great in the end. You know, Holland won the race, but a good friend of ours, Aaron Gate from Girona, he's also living over there. Gatey just comes from the clouds, and you know the Kiwis. I was so rapt to see them get on the podium too.
Oh, that was the team I was going for. You know, in the end, like there was no Aussies in there, so Gatey and Campbell's a teammate of mine as well. So that last sprint, because the last sprint holds double points, and also the Brits did an amazing job in the last sprint, which actually pulled the Kiwis away and into a medal position. So yeah, no, it was good to be back. I hadn't been back into track in about 10, 12 years. So the atmosphere was awesome, and what a race it was. But the Dutchies in the end, I think, made the best move, I think, with 8 laps to go and with 2 sprints to go. And then they just stayed out the front and took a lot of points. But not one lap was taken during the race, which is pretty unheard of in Madison racing.
Oh, it was a real whirlwind, and like you said, I would have loved to have been there to witness it live, just to see and feel the energy of that speed. Because even on TV, it was so gripping. It was very confusing to watch, even though I know how it works. I can't imagine people new to the sport how much they would like it, but once you get your head around that one, it is a really fun race to watch. Was there anything else you took away from being there in the velodrome, apart from the Madison, but the atmosphere, the track to finish off the World's chat?
Oh, I would say it was good to see Cam Meyer at the bottom of the track as a coach now, a good friend of mine and yours, and he came away with 3 world titles with the women, and then also helped with the men, with the bunch racing with the men, and they won 2 world titles and a silver medal. So very successful games for Cameron's second outing with the Brits. So that was really cool to see him down there doing his thing. But yeah, like you said, Super Worlds was good, and as a rider, I don't think it was anything different. But for a spectacle, as a fan, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right, we've been banging on about the Worlds for so long. Let's just quickly talk about what is coming up, because we've actually got the last Grand Tour right upon us, the Vuelta a España. That time's gone so quick since the Tour de France. Normally there's a little bit of a gap there, but because the World's slotted in between, it's just like onto the Vuelta. The Vuelta is a personal favourite of mine. I did the Vuelta 7 times, one of my favourite Grand Tours, because purely out of, no choice, I had to do it a lot of times, so it had to be my favourite. Durbs, you've done it 1 time. What was your feeling there? What's the difference about the Vuelta? You've done all 3. What's the difference, mate, out of all the other tours? What's the nice thing about the Vuelta? What's the bad thing about it?
Bad thing is the heat. It's hot as hell. And good thing is, I didn't enjoy my time at the Vuelta last year that much. So. No, I would say the road quality and the circuits and everything like that that they put you on is pretty cool. Like it's probably the best Grand Tour in terms of least road furniture, probably best road quality, probably most relaxedness in the bunch, I'd say. But it's still stressful. I'm not going to say it's relaxed, but it is probably the most relaxed in that sense. But yeah, it's good.
Well, Jumbo-Visma, they're going for the Grand Tour clean sweep. I don't know if that's been done by any team before. It probably has, but not that I can remember. Vingegaard, he's actually going straight off the back of the Tour de France. I don't know if he's going in support of Roglic, but they're going to ride together. Roglic is looking pretty good at the moment in Volta Burgos. As we record this, it's Friday night. in Australia, so Friday morning in Europe. So there's still a few stages to go there. The last rider to do the Tour de France Vuelta double was Chris Froome back in 2017. So if Vingegaard, he gets on, he's going to repeat what Froome did back then and maybe follow in his footsteps and keep kicking on and go on and try and do the treble, go on and do the Giro next year. Who knows? That could be something that he might try. The route this year, the Vuelta route always looks pretty filthy in my opinion. Obviously, Durbs, it's always down to how it's raced. Something that doesn't look that hard can be very tough if it's race tough. This is the point I'm trying to get across. Look, the first week for me anyway, I had a quick look into it. It looks pretty tough. It's, very tough actually. It starts with the Triple T. Stage 2 is in very familiar areas for us. It's a stage, the Triple T's in Barcelona. You going to go down and watch? I'm
at Renewy, so unfortunately not.
Yes, right. Well, stage two is around the Barcelona area. I've ridden quite a lot of those roads. It's starting out of Mataro, heads up over a small little climb that I've ridden before, and it's going to maybe be a sprint stage. But actually, more interesting was stage 3, Durbs. When I was looking at this, we've actually ridden half of this stage on our bikepacking trip a few years ago with Lockie Morton when we rode up to Andorra, and I was looking at these roads. I'm like, hang on a second. We've done this in our bikepacking trip, so we remember we were swapping off the three of us with bags and everything on.
That's
it was
right.
A good breakaway, two EF guys versus Jaco.
Yeah.
I can't remember who got away with that day, but it's up to Andorra very early in the tour. The first 9 stages are really tough, hilly. There's one sprint day in between then. It's really one official sprint day. There's a couple hard man sprints. Then they're going to fly up north. So they sort of only scoot down the side of Spain, and then they're going to do a whole lot in the north. They're heading over to France in the second week. They're doing the Tourmalet, Abisk. Durbs, you've done those climbs in the Tour de France. Tell me a little bit about those 2 climbs.
Oh yeah, Tourmalet's super, super hard. It's going to be interesting to see the first showdown with like Remco and Vingegaard in the form, I think, and it'd be nice if Pogačar went, would it was like a little juicy cherry before next year's Tour de France. So, I don't know, those sort of climbs, Tourmalet, these sort of what you saw Jonas do, and yeah, they're proper. And also Jonas did some pretty impressive things in the Tour with it. So it's going to be interesting. Those long, high altitude climbs really suit Jonas. So, which I don't even think they suit Roglic as much, actually, because he's a bit bigger. So we'll see. It's going to be, as soon as you go over an hour, up to 2,500 metres, it's going to be Jonas territory, but we just don't know if he's in the same condition as he will be in at the Tour, but it's going to be some good watching for sure.
Well, the last week is pretty tricky too because they've got the L'Angliru, personal favourite of mine. Love that climb. Love getting pushed up that climb.
It's horrible by the sounds of it. Well,
it's horrible. You got to.
What's it like?
It's gnarly. And they normally do it on stage 20, but they've chucked it in at stage 17 this year because stage 20 is something really weird I've never seen before. It's the longest stage of the tour. It's a 220k stage, I think, but it's sort of circuits. It's made up of 10 Cat 3 climbs, 4,000 metres of vert. I was trying to think, is this worse or is this better? Because like typically on a stage 20, you get like a real epic day, 3 or 4 coals. And I'm typically very, very scared am I going to make it. Maybe this is worse because the race is just going to keep going.
Yeah.
Cat 3s, everyone's going to think it's a chance. Well, can you even imagine having this sort of stage 20? They've never done this before.
No, it's like they've created like a World Championships one-day race at the end of a Grand Tour. Like for riders for like you and me, man, that's fear. That's a lot of fear to like miss time cut on that day. Shit, that's stressful.
It's going to be another good one. They always produce a good race. I always think the Vuelta is really fun to watch. It's at the end of the year, get a last little bit. Jumbo-Visma's team is looking super strong. They've got Roglic, Vingegaard, Kasser's back, Gessinger's riding. They've got Traknik, Kelderman, Van Baal. The team's just like...
Oh, it's insane, that team. You trade one in, you trade
amazing.
One out. It's the same.
The other sort of favourites that I picked up, Carapaz is going to try and make it back. Then you got Jay Vine, Almeida. They're over at UAE. Ineos has got Thomas and Garner. Garner's in good shape. So look, Master's probably coming back. He's probably got something to prove for Movistar after the Tour. It'll be a good one, Derbs. I know you're not a massive fan of the Vuelta, but I'm sure you're going to be tuning in, watching it.
I'll be watching. I'm looking forward to it. I reckon. But I reckon we should watch out for Ayuso. That's a tip. I reckon he'll lead UAE, and I reckon he'll be right up there for potentially even the victory. I don't know, but I mean, this kid was on the podium last year at like 19 or 20 years old, and he's already proven this year to be like as good as the best in time trials and on the climb. So I don't know, just throwing it out there. Could be a bit of a wild card.
What about from your team? Jaco, who you guys got?
Eddie Dunbar's going. He was really impressive 7th place or 6th place in the Giro this year. So it's the first time he's ever gone for GC, and he was 6th or 7th. So, and you saw him in the Giro climbing the best. So yeah, I think we'll go with him, and we've got a few guys for stages and things like that. So yeah, got things to do. So I'll be watching.
Should we get into the final quiz here, Derb? I've put a little quiz together for you. When it's just you, I always have a little bit more fun trying to trip you up. So should we have a crack at this final quiz before I let you go and get out and do some kind of crazy training session while I crack myself another beer?
Yep, sounds good. I might ride to a place and get a beer then.
All right, well, we've got three quiz questions this week. The first one is in sort of farewell and, you know, to say goodbye to our friend Peter Sagan. He is retiring this year from the road scene. So the question is based around Sagan. Which of these is not an official nickname for Peter Sagan? Is it A, Peter the Great, B, Three-Pete, C, Pinchy Pete, or D, Tourminator?
They're all pretty bad, aren't
they? Would you like to hear them again?
No. I'm just don't tell me again.
Three of them are official nicknames.
The only thing is
one is not.
I'm thinking Pinchy Pete because it sounds like it's a stupid thing that you would say, like just like to trip me up, like the other day with the Gulpin was the coffee that was from Melbourne. Yeah, maybe Pinchy Pete.
You know, Pinchy Pete, unfortunately, is not a nickname. Well done, Dervo. That name is derived from Peter Sagan's slip up on the podium in Ghent Wevelgem. I thought maybe someone would have given him that name when he decided to be a little bit pinchy. Which country has had the most male road world champions? Is it A, Italy, B, Belgium, C, Holland, or D, Spain?
I'm going to go with Belgium.
Oh, mate, well done. Oh. Belgium on 27 world champions.
That's crazy.
All right, the last question, and this is something you should know, as every pro should be reading the rule book of the UCI road racing rules every year to see what rule has been changed.
Yep, just like you. Yeah.
Which of these is not a rule? Is it A, it is forbidden to carry and use glass objects? B, a rider dropping out of the race shall immediately move his body number and hand it to the commissaire or the broom wagon. He may not cross the finish line. He may not pass go. He may not collect $200. No, he may not pass the finish line unless he is injured or feels seriously sick. He must travel in the broom wagon. Yeah. C, riders must not hold onto a vehicle or push off against a vehicle in order to gain a sufficient advantage. In exception, when collecting feeding bottles, riders may hang on to a bottle to regain speed and be slungshot back to the peloton. D, riders may not be sprayed from a vehicle.
What? You're an idiot.
These three of these are real rules. One of them is not a real.
Okay.
I actually read the rules yesterday. It's ridiculous.
The launching back to the Peloton is not a rule. You can't regain speed. Like, how much drama does that cause? Like, if you've ever watched cycling before, they just go on about holding onto cars and bottles. So, no, you cannot, for everyone out there, you cannot grab a bottle, regain speed, and get back to the Peloton. I would love to, but you can't do it.
Well done, mate. C is not an official rule. Well done. You really navigated well through the quiz tonight.
You just enjoy to say rules. Stupid things. They're not even that hard.
Half of those rules are so ridiculous. Yeah. How's the dropping out one?
Yeah.
Unless he is injured or feels seriously sick, he must travel in the broom wagon. When have you ever got in the broom wagon? No. I never got in the broom wagon once.
You just stop and get in the car.
We just ride to the finish.
Yeah.
And I've gone across the finish line if I'm out of the race.
I mean, we pulled out of San Remo, and I think we've actually got on the finish results. We didn't actually finish.
That's cheating. That's cheating, Luke. All right, we've banged on long enough, mate. Great to catch up with you. Great to sort of debrief. Well, one race really, but Durbs, until a month's time, that is the Race Communique, and thanks for being on it.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in a month's time.
Well, guys, there we go. A nice little wrap-up. We could have kept talking on and on there. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of insight. Next month, we're going to be talking with Durbo and Southam. He'll be back. Get him on there, the Race Communique. I hope you guys are enjoying this one. Big thanks that goes out to Will Jones, who puts these episodes together, the Life in the Peloton team, of course, Megan Spurlow, and you guys for listening. Let me know what you think. But guys, until next week, until next week, we've got a Life in the Peloton episode. But until next month, we've got the Communique coming back at you. So guys, until then, cheers. The music in this episode was composed by Pete Shelley. Cheers, mate.